Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing? Start off by giving the video a like. Monday morning, and we'll just wait for a couple other people to join. Hopefully, you've all had a good weekend. I do have the camera off just because I'm having a lazy day. It's Monday, and we will get ready to do some analysis on the NQ. We'll start in sequential order. And we will start on the NQ on the daily and the weekly. If there's any issues throughout the morning live stream, just give me a heads up, but you should be good. So yeah, starting on the NQ on both the weekly and the... Actually, before I start, I just want to tap my ego slightly, just to break down what we said on Friday. So actually, I think it's worth going back to what we said, what we wanted to see on Friday. So for anyone that's just only joined the room today, I just want to show you what we spoke about Friday, and you will see. Yeah. So on Friday we were talking pretty much on both the NQ and the ES. We were talking about pretty much the same levels in terms of the break and retest. I'm just going to show you the NQ first, and then the ES. The ES was here. So the ES is actually what we traded, and this was a setup I wanted to see on the ES, and this actually did trade on the day. So you can see on the ES, that is the exact setup that we got, and it looks so small now, but this was the actual setup. So obviously I said we were most likely going to gap up on Monday, which we have done, but this was the ES trade that we took on Friday live on stream, and this was pretty much a zero drawdown entry. And we rode this all the way to targets. So this actually went full negative 100 into the close, and that was a 20-point trade on the ES. And of course, we have, as I said, gapped up on Monday, which again, not overly surprised. All that really does give us is basically a high-to-high extension and also a same anchor new high, which I will be eyeing up. And that same anchor new high is pretty much going to be from the from the previous high to high, which is from Monday, 9:30 on Wednesday last week. That 38 lines up with just below the overnight high, RTH high and the overnight low. So I do have that on the ES that I will be paying attention to. So we'll see. Currently on the daily, the ES is stronger. So we do need to pay attention to, obviously, the BX is still red on the ES where it isn't on the NQ. So the NQ is going to be a lot harder to trade on the daily point of view, on the intraday point of view. And just to break down the NQ, what we spoke about on Friday, same sort of thing. We wanted to see the break and retest. And you can see, one second. You can see on the NQ, we want to see that break and retest, and we mentioned that the pivot was 411. So you can see here 411s, 412s. That was before I wrote the post. So this is not hindsight. This is before I wrote the post. And of course, if we go to the NQ, you can see that is pretty much, I haven't even changed any of my charts. So this is pretty much what we got on Friday. That was the break and retest. And I said they could chop this all day Friday and just gap this up Monday. And guess what? They still win. So whoever was trying to, try and trade the longs in here, yeah, you got 10, 20, 30, maybe 40 points. But the real move was made on the gap up, 67, 80 points, right? And of course, they ran those two targets. So that does happen sometimes. And that's why I mentioned it in terms of don't be surprised if they gap up on Monday, sorry, because the setup is still valid, right? Just because we day trade doesn't mean the setup isn't valid, right? These setups can take days, multi-days to form, right? And they know that most people don't hold overnight, so it's easier just to gap it up. And you can see the high to high that we are currently in is pretty much from the overnight high on Wednesday, similar to ES. And invalidation on that, just briefly, would be obviously anything below the RTH high on this extension. It doesn't mean it's invalidated on the actual long itself. I am long at the moment, just 5 micros. I was up about 20 points, which obviously is not much, but I'll see how this goes. I'm pretty much long at 505, 502s, stops at about 450s. And I'll tell you why I'm in this trade and why I'm going to, or how I'm going to be managing it. And you can see we had that break and retest. The next high to high is in play. Now, I don't think we traded a traditional on the half an hour. Let me just double check. I don't think we did. No, we didn't. So all I would really be doing if this high to high doesn't hold, all I will be doing is most likely drawing the same anchor new high. So that same anchor new high would line up pretty much with roughly the same sort of support. So you can see this kind of resistance from last week, most likely draw this out to the right, and you will have a very similar setup to what we had to the left, right? Very, very similar. So wait for that break, wait for that retest to come down. And my stops are around 450. So if I get stopped out here, I just wait for this to come down. If we start to build this, we start to base out, we will have a race, we will have a base, rally, base, and then a rally again, hopefully. So that's what I will look for. In terms of your ATRs on the day, let me just go down to the lower time frames. And in fact, let me just make sure that I've got my indicators on. Yes. So the ATRs for the day, just so you're aware in terms of range, the range actually coincides really nicely with the -23. So if we do come down to this 38% retracement at 435s, 435s does give us magnitude all the way up to the -23, which lines up with the daily magnitude. Okay, so that is that ETH ATR. And in terms of the downside, we are obviously right down there. It would be about basically that halfway back. So the halfway back on the high to high, the 50 lines up at about 389s. That is pretty much your magnitude or thereabouts, your low of day. And by that point, you would obviously break trend. So if we open and we break this trend line here, then I pretty much just sit on hands. So if we tag this now, my stop will go to break even. So I'm long at 502s. Once we tag this at 480s, my stop immediately goes break even, which is probably about that half an hour midpoint on the ATR. And that's pretty much just a risk-free trade. There are very, very rare opportunities that I put my stop to break even, but that is an opportunity or a situation where I would. Luckily enough, I actually exited on some of my other accounts at 519.50s, which sounds like I'm making that up because that is the exact low of day, high of day, but trust me, that is a 519.50s where I exited on one account, and on the other account I exited at 510s just because my profit had to be within $2,600. But still holding on my funded futures accounts as well at 502s as well. So yeah, we'll see how this trades out. We'll see how this plays out on the open. But that's pretty much all I'm going to go with. Same anchor new high. Hopefully we come down to that 38 at some point, get a under back over and potentially go higher. I would prefer for this trend to not get tagged or broken below. In terms of the trend on all four indexes at the moment, you can see over here, if I bring this over, you can see we're at the same support on the NQ as we were on Friday. It's the exact same level as I was looking at on Friday. And if you draw this level out here, again, it's going to be the same sort of level, 420s. But ideally you stay above Friday's high to be able to be in trend. ES, same sort of thing. You're at that trend line now. And YM and RTY has actually respected and gone higher from those levels. And that is what I'll be pretty much looking at on the open. If anything changes, you'll have my screen share on Discord. If there's anything else I need to cover, let me know. I'm going to be doing the indicators for a couple people, so if I haven't done it by lunchtime, let me know if you're one of those people, but I will hopefully get them done ASAP. And I think that is everything. Again, most likely I will trade the ES. I appreciate I'm long on the NQ at the moment. Hopefully I get a break-even trade. In fact, let me just put that to break even now, just because, again, I wanted to give it a stab, but when I saw that the BX was still red on the NQ, I kind of realized probably a pointless trade. And I most likely will focus on the ES until the NQ turns green. Weekly is still green, but of course daily is what we go off. And yeah, that is pretty much it. ES for those levels, if anyone joined late, we have broken trend, so it's most likely going to be a sit on hands type of day if you are going to be trading the ES. I don't really like having an under over on trend. These are all wicks, so these are all trapped buyers, so it's probably going to be, in fact, I'm going to take that position off on the NQ. So I've just took that position off on the NQ. That was a $220 loss, which I'm completely happy to take that. And yeah, would rather just take that off, to be honest, just because I don't like what I'm seeing. So ES breaking that trend again, lots of trap buyers here. So if we do come back up, I probably wouldn't even touch it, to be honest. So I'll probably just have to see how I go on today, to be honest. I might not actually do much. I'll have to see. I don't like the fact that we've actually pierced and broken trend before the market opens. So I will see what we do. If any of you are watching on YouTube who aren't a member, join the 7-day free trial and you'll be able to watch and hear me trade live on Discord. Okay, everyone on YouTube, I will see you all tomorrow. Everyone on Discord, I will jump on there now.